World leaders launch fund to save forests. And also, international security force set for Gaza very soon. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm Brendan Lepal. World leaders meeting in Brazil have launched a new global fund to protect tropical forests, raising more than $5 billion in initial pledges. The Tropical Forests Forever facility aims to reward developing nations for preserving their forests, with Brazil leading the initiative. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva called the fund unprecedented, saying it will eventually grow to $125 billion, paying countries for every hectare of forest left standing. Private investors are also expected to join the fund, earning returns through investments in emerging market bonds. Representatives from forest nations like Ivory Coast welcome the move, saying the money will help them expand reforestation efforts and meet climate targets. The fund was unveiled in Belém at the edge of the Amazon, ahead of UN Climate Summit. World leaders representing small countries vulnerable to climate threats demanded global action and accountability ahead of COP30 in Brazil. Barbados and Suriname representatives raising their voices on behalf of Jamaica, Cuba and Haiti, the three countries most affected by Category 5 Hurricane Melissa. Melissa's confirmed death toll had climbed to 75, with Haiti's official count at 43 and 13 more missing, in addition to the 32 confirmed deaths in Jamaica.
Because all of us should hold our heads down in shame, because having established this fund a few years ago in Sharm el-Sheikh, its capital base is still under $800 million, while Jamaica reels from damage in excess of $7 billion, not to mention Cuba, Haiti, or the Bahamas.
We have witnessed the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica, Haiti, and Cuba. Our hearts go out to the affected nations and communities, and we call on the international community to provide rapid and sustained assistance.
Meanwhile, Papua New Guinea's Prime Minister James Marape thanked China for its efforts in reforesting its lands.
I want to thank Chinese President Xi Jinping, and the Chinese government. They have reforested. They have the leading nation now in as far as reforestation is concerned. Over 96 million hectares of land have been reforested by the Chinese government.
His words stood out as notable leaders were missing from the lineup, including 4 of the world's 5 most polluting economies: China, the United States, India, and Russia. Meanwhile, the United Nations Weather Agency said the year 2025 is on track to rank among the warmest years on record. World Meteorological Organization's Deputy Secretary General Cole Barrett said the data is stark, noting that 2025 follows 2024, the hottest year ever recorded.
Deputy Secretary General of the World Meteorological The data is stark. 2025 is on track to rank among the warmest years on record, following 2024, the hottest year ever observed. Each fraction of a degree matters for communities facing floods, droughts, and heat extremes.
In its latest State of the Global Climate Update, the WMO reported that greenhouse gas concentrations and ocean heat, both at record highs in 2024, have continued to rise this year. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres criticized nations for failing to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius as world leaders gathered in Brazil ahead of COP30 summit in Berlin. Scientists have confirmed the world is on course to breach the 1.5-degree threshold by 2030, a tipping point that could trigger irreversible climate damage. U.S. President Donald Trump says a U.S. Coordinated International Security Force, or ISF, will be deployed to Gaza very soon following 2 years of war in the besieged territory. Speaking at a White House event with Central Asian leaders, Trump said the situation in Gaza is working out very well, referring to the multinational post-conflict task force expected to change or to charge of security as Israel withdraws.
Very soon. It's going to be very soon. And Gaza is working out very well. And you haven't been hearing too much about problems. And I'll tell you, we've had countries that have volunteered. If there's a problem with Hamas, as an example, or a problem with anything, but they volunteered to, on a single basis, go in and take care of it. We have very powerful countries in this coalition. And
the United States has presented a draft UN Security Council resolution seeking approval for the force, part of Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan. Diplomatic sources say several nations have signaled willingness to participate, but only with a UN mandate. The ISF is a key feature of the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, under which troops from Arab and Muslim countries would be deployed to maintain order in Gaza. Israeli airstrikes hit parts of southern Lebanon, including the village of Tyre Deba, escalating tensions despite a year-old ceasefire with Hezbollah. The Israeli military said the strikes targeted areas where Hezbollah was allegedly rebuilding its military infrastructure. Earlier, Israel had issued evacuation orders for 3 southern villages, Aita al-Jabal, al-Tayyiba and Tyre Deba, warning residents to stay 500 meters away from specific sites. Lebanon's civil defense assisted with evacuation before the airstrikes began, sending thick plumes of smoke into the sky. Lebanese officials reported at least 1 person killed in earlier strikes, but no immediate casualty told from the latest attack. The Lebanese military, meanwhile, said Israel was preventing the full implementation of a ceasefire deal with Hezbollah, which hours earlier had publicly arrested or asserted its right to defend itself. The airstrikes coincided with Lebanese cabinet meeting where Army Commander Rodolphe Haikal briefed ministers on efforts to dismantle Hezbollah arms depots in the south. United Nations Security Council has voted to lift sanctions on Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara and Interior Minister Anas Khattab in a resolution drafted by the United States. The motion passed on Thursday with 14 votes in favor, while China abstained. The move paves the way for President Shara's visit to Washington, where he is scheduled to meet U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House on Monday. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, said the decision sends a strong political signal that Syria is entering a new era following the fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime December last year, after 13 years of civil war.
Will those in favor of draft resolution contain
that recognizes Syria is in a new era since Assad and his associates were toppled in December 2024. There is a new Syrian government in place led by President Ahmed al-Shara that is working hard to fulfill its commitments on countering terrorism and narcotics, on eliminating any remnants of chemical weapons, and promoting regional security and stability.
China abstained, citing unresolved counterterrorism and security concerns, particularly over Uyghur militant groups operating in Syria. Russia, meanwhile, supported the resolution, saying it reflects the will of the Syrian people after years of division at the Security Council. Syria's UN envoy Ibrahim Olabi welcomed the vote, calling it a turning point and vowing that the new Syria will engage the world through cooperation and mutual respect. In other news, Typhoon Kalmegi has slammed into Vietnam, forcing the cancellation of hundreds of flights and prompting authorities to order residents to stay indoors. The storm, packing winds of up to 149 kilometers per hour, tore off roofs, uprooted trees and triggered waves as high as 10 meters along the country's central coast. 6 airports were shut down and more than 260,000 people in Gia Lai province were evacuated to safety. The government also placed over 268,000 soldiers on standby for rescue operations. Kalmegi is in its 13th and among the strongest storms to hit Vietnam this year. It has raised fears of flooding in low-lying areas and damage to crops in the central highlands, Vietnam's main coffee-growing region. Further north, farmers near Hue were still recovering from floods earlier this week that killed 47 people. In the Philippines, where the typhoon first struck 2 days earlier, at least 114 people were killed and 127 remain missing. Floodwaters have exposed flattened homes and wreckage vehicles, as aid efforts continue amid widespread devastation. Tesla CEO Elon Musk has secured shareholder approval for the largest corporate pay package in history, valued at nearly $1 trillion. The proposal, backed by more than 75% of investors, was approved during Tesla's annual meeting at its factory in Austin, Texas. Already the world's richest person, Musk could receive up to $878 billion in stock over the next decade, tied to strict performance and valuation milestones. The vote is seen as crucial for Tesla's future as Musk pushes to transform the company into an artificial intelligence and robotics leader, with plans for self-driving cars, robot-taxis and humanoid robots. Shareholders also back Tesla's potential investments in Musk AI startup XAI, despite some concerns over conflicts of interest. Tesla's board said the plan was essential to retain Musk's leadership, warning he could leave without it. Musk said the approval marks a new chapter for Tesla as he aims to lead the company into what he calls the robots army era.
Hi, everyone.
Up next, Maldives begins generational ban on smoking. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Malaysia's entry for the 98th Academy Awards has been announced, with film Pautan for an Infant selected to represent the country in the Best International Feature Film category at the Oscars 2026. In a statement, the National Film Development Corporation Malaysia FINAS said the selection was made by its Film Selection Committee, comprising industry professionals and experienced filmmakers. FINAS said the decision reflects the growing recognition of Malaysian cinema on the global stage, with evaluations made in line with guidelines set by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Directed by Chong Kiat Aun and produced by Janji Pictures Production, Pautan for an Infant has received multiple international accolades, including the Youth Jury Award at the 39th Freiburg International Film Festival and the Golden Silk Road Award for Best Screenplay at the 12th Silk Road International Film Festival. The film has also been screened at major global festivals such as in Tokyo, Hong Kong, Istanbul, Taipei and New York. Pautan for an Infant tells the story of Lai Sum, a caretaker at a baby shelter who helps a pregnant teenage girl struggling with the decision to terminate her pregnancy. FINAS reaffirmed its commitment to support and empower Malaysian filmmakers to produce creative works that can compete internationally. Maldives has officially enforced a smoking ban for anyone born after January 2007, becoming the only country in the world with a generational prohibition on tobacco. The Health Ministry said the move, initiated by President Mohamed Muizu, took effect on 1st November 1st, aiming to protect public health and promote a tobacco-free generation. Under the new law, those born on or after the 1st of January 2007 are barred from buying, using or being sold tobacco products, including all forms of cigarettes. Retailer must now verify age before any sale. The ban also extends to visitors across the island nation, famous for its luxury resorts. Authorities maintain a nationwide prohibition on the import, sale and use of electronic cigarettes and vapes, regardless of age. Violators face hefty penalties: 50,000 rupiah, or about 13,600 ringgit, for selling to minors and 5,000 rupiah for using vape devices. Globally, Britain is still debating a similar law, while New Zealand, the first to enact it, repealed the policy last year. And in other news, the Collins English Dictionary has named vibe coding as its word of the year for 2025, reflecting how artificial intelligence is transforming the way people interact with technology. The term, coined by AI pioneer Andrei Karpathy, describes new tools that allow users to create apps or software simply by describing them in natural language, while AI automatically generates the code in the background. Colin lexicographers said usage of the term has surged since early 2025, calling it a symbol of how AI is reshaping creativity and communication. This year's shortlist also featured several tech-influenced entries, including clanker, a mocking term for robots, biohacking, and broligarchy, meaning powerful tech elites. Other lifestyle-inspired words included aura farming, Henry, meaning high earner, not rich yet, and collocation linked to eco-conscious travel. Last year's word was Brett, while AI topped the list in 2023. Former Bolivian President Janine Áñez has been released from prison after more than 4 years behind bars, following a Supreme Court decision that annulled her 10-year sentence for alleged coup plotting. Áñez, aged 58, was greeted by supporters and family as she left a women's prison in La Paz, waving the Bolivian flag and declaring she would never regret serving her country. The former senator became interim leader in 2019 after then-President Evo Morales fled amid protests over alleged election fraud. A controversial rise marked by her public display of a Bible upon taking office was criticized by Morales' supporters as a slight against Bolivia's indigenous population. Áñez was arrested in 2021 after Morales' Socialist Party returned to power and was later convicted of illegally assuming the presidency. The Supreme Court ruled that she was tried in the wrong court, saying alleged offences by lawmakers must be heard by a special tribunal. Her release comes just days before President-elect Rodrigo Paz is sworn in, signalling the end of 2 decades of socialist rule in Bolivia. Travelers across the United States are bracing for major air travel disruptions as the federal government shutdown forces widespread flight cancellation. Starting Friday, airlines will cut about 10% of flights across 40 major travel hubs, following a Federal Aviation Administration safety order. According to FlightAware, more than 650 flights scheduled for Friday have already been cancelled. American Airlines said it will cut 220 flights daily, Delta about 170, and Southwest 100. The shutdown has left tens of thousands of air traffic controllers and airport staff unpaid, leading to severe manpower shortages and long delays. On Thursday alone, over 5,500 flights were delayed nationwide, with Boston, Newark, Chicago O'Hare, and Washington's Reagan National among the hardest hit, some facing delays of up to 2 hours. FAA Administrator Brian Bedford said the agency acted early to prevent a potential safety crisis, emphasizing they won't wait for an accident to happen. Flights were halted at Sweden's Gothenburg Landvetter Airport after drones were reportedly seen near the airfield. Authorities said air traffic was suspended after one or more drones were observed around the airport, Sweden's second largest after Stockholm Arlanda. Similar drone incidents have recently disrupted airports across Europe, with some officials suggesting possible hybrid warfare activities by Russia, a claim Moscow has denied. One worker has been killed and several others are still trapped after a power plant collapsed in South Korea's southeastern city of Ulsan. The boiler tower at Korea's East-West Power's Ulsan plant collapsed Thursday afternoon during demolition work. Firefighters said one worker was pronounced dead after suffering cardiac arrest, while 2 others have been rescued. At least 6 remain trapped as rescue operations continue. Prime Minister Kim In-suk has ordered all ministries to mobilize emergency personnel and equipment, prioritizing the rescue efforts. Residents near the site have also been evacuated as a safety precaution. Doctors in New Delhi, India, are reporting a sharp rise in pollution-related respiratory illnesses, including bronchitis, acute asthma attacks, and eye and throat irritation. Hospitals across the city have been overwhelmed with patients suffering from symptoms linked to severe air pollution in recent days. The air quality index in several parts of New Delhi remain unhealthy levels as a thick haze blanketed the city's southern districts. In response, authorities have launched emergency measures including spraying water on roads and trees and installing mist spraying machines on street lamps in key areas to help reduce dust and airborne pollutants. Next in sports, Pearly Tina, top world tour ranking. Malaysia's women's doubles pair, Pearly Tan and Tina, have made history reaching the top of the BWF World Tour Finals rankings for the first time. The national duo overtook China's Liu Shengshu and Tan Ning, who skipped the French Open and Hilo Open tournaments. Sports Minister Hannah Yeoh congratulated Pearly and Tina in a Facebook post, calling their achievement a proud moment for Malaysian badminton. The BWF World Tour rankings determine the top 8 pairs who will qualify for the season-ending finals in Hangzhou from 17 to 21st December. Although Pearly and Tina are still ranked second in the world overall, the new milestone gives them a strong morale boost ahead of the Kumamoto Masters in Japan starting 11th November. The pair are chasing their third World Tour title this season after winning the Thailand Open and Arctic Open in Finland. Selangor FC's AFC Champions League 2 campaign has come to an early end after a heartbreaking loss on home ground. At the MPBJ Stadium in Petaling Jaya, the Red Giants fell 3-2 to Indonesia's Persib Bandung despite taking a 2-goal lead early in the first half. Selangor opened the scoring in the 3rd minute through Krigor Moraes and doubled their advantage in the 17th by an own goal by Persib's Patricio Matirkadi. But Persib, coached by Boyan Hodak, mounted a strong second-half comeback. Andrew Jung pulled one back in the 49th minute before Adam Ali Setiano struck twice, including the winner in stoppage time after a mistake by Selangor goalkeeper Sik Izan Nazril. The result leaves Selangor bottom of Group B with 4 straight defeats and no points, while Persib lead the standings with 10. Selangor will wrap up their campaign with matches against Bangkok United and Lion City Sailors. Aston Villa claimed a 2-0 win over Maccabi Tel Aviv in the Europa League in a match played under heavy security in Birmingham. Police deployed around 700 officers at Villa Park while travelling fans barred and separate pro-Palestinian and pro-Israel protests held outside the stadium. Authorities reported 6 arrests for offences including racial aggravation and failure to comply with dispersal orders. Despite earlier criticism of the fan ban, including from Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Maccabi Tel Aviv had already declined ticket allocations, citing safety concerns. On the pitch, Ian Maatsen opened the scoring just before half-time and Donyal Malen added a second in the 59 minutes to seal the win. Villa manager Unai Emery praised his team's focus and professionalism as the club moved up to 9 points from 4 matches. And in tennis, Lorenzo Musetti posted a 6-2, 6-4 win over Alexandro Müller to reach the semi-finals of the ATP event in Athens, maintaining his hopes of qualifying for the season-ending ATP finals. Italian Musetti, ranked number 9 in the world, needs to win the tournament to overhaul Felix Auger-Aliassime and claim the final place in next week's showpiece in Turin. Whichever qualifies will find himself in a group with world number 1 Yannick Sinner, as well as Alexander Zverev and Ben Shelton. Musetti will face the American Sebastian Korda in semi-finals. Top seed Novak Djokovic also moved into the last 4 with a 7-6, 6-4 win over Nuno Borges, marking his 200th career indoor victory. Djokovic will play German qualifier Yannick Hanfmann for a place in the final. The 38-year-old Serb, already qualified for Turin, is chasing his 101st career title as he continues to close in on Roger Federer and Jimmy Connors on the all-time list. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka has powered into the semi-finals of the WTA finals after defeating defending champion Coco Gauff in straight sets. At the King Saud University Sports Arena in Riyadh, Sabalenka came from behind to beat Gauff 7-6, 6-2, a victory that also confirmed Jessica Pegula's place in the last 4. Gauff started strong, breaking early for a 4-2 lead, but Sabalenka fought back to level the first set and edged the tiebreak. The Belarusian dominated the second set, racing to a 4-love lead and sealing victory in just under 2 hours. Sabalenka will now face Amanda Anisimova in a rematch of their US Open final. Sabalenka continues the chase for a maiden WTA finals title, 3 championship match, years after first reaching the championship match. And that's it from us. In our top story, will leaders launch funds to save forests? Get first $5 billion. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight, coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and Saluran Berita RTM. Till then, I'm Brenda Lepol, Malaysia Madani, Rakyat Disantuni. Thank you for your company and take care.